This week's episode is brought to you by the legends over at Dog and Gun Coffee. And I have to be honest with you, I've only just recently started taking their pre-loaded drip filters up the mountain with me. Previously, I've always taken them on hunts that I go on because then you've got delicious coffee first thing in the morning. But what I started doing was taking my jet boil and going up the hill, and at the end of morning or when everything starts to settle down, sitting down, having a cup of coffee and enjoying the views. And it's like a cherry on top when you're already out doing some of the things you absolutely love. And you get to enjoy a nice cup of cha while you're up there as well. It just works out incredibly well. The cool thing about it as well is that usually when things start to quieten down in the morning, the more you can stay still, the more you'll start to see things happening. So recently what I did was sat down after I bumped some deer. I boiled up a cup and enjoyed my coffee at the top of a hill and watched this sunny bench and eventually watched these deer feed onto a sunny bench. So I then went after them and shot a deer, as you're about to hear all about. But you guys too can enjoy coffee, incredible coffee set for adventure, ready for adventure wherever you go. They've got many different brews. They've got different gear like apparel, knives, coffee mugs, and all of your coffee needs sorted for any adventure that you're going on. And you guys can get $10 off your next order when you use the code Bowhunter. It's Bowhunter all in caps locks. Use the code Bowhunter and it will get you $10 off your next order at Dog and Gun Coffee. This week's episode is brought to you by the legends over at Kayuga Broadheads. One thing I am incredibly impressed with is, in particular, the Zot, but all of the broadheads and the piercing ability, the penetration ability that they have. And inside this podcast, you're actually going to hear it, but actually watch the test of getting a fighting pad from a boar and holding an arrow and literally pressing on it from the knocking point. So you're pressing your hand directly onto the knocking point, pushing the arrow and the broadhead directly into the fighting pad, and watching how much pressure it takes to push a broadhead through that fighting pad. And the Zot was absolutely ridiculous. Like there's pressure, there's definitely pressure, but I think when they tested it on the actual gauge, it was like 9 PSI was all that it took to push through this fighting pad. And watching it compared to watching other broadheads that we had in camp was just absolutely unbelievable. And not on top of that was then watching every single broadhead that Kayuga puts out. We literally went through the whole range and we pushed them all through and watched everyone do it by hand, just pressing them through, versus other broadheads where they were holding, those guys, strong guys too, holding the arrow, 2 hands pushing down with all of their might and not being able to push through that fighting pad, which is obviously problematic because you're focusing on pure force to try punch through that. The cool thing is if you've got a razor sharp Zot or one of these other Kayuga broadheads, they will just zip through an animal, which is something that we're always looking for when we're looking to do an ethical kill. Anyway, a long way of saying you guys can have confidence in your gear too, and you can get a discount when you use the code BAB10. That's BAB in caps locks, 10, numbers 10. And that will get you 10% off your next order at Kayuga Broadheads.
Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands. Searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bow hunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bow hunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting.
Legend, what is up? Thank you for being here today. Before we get into it, I don't ask much of anyone that listens to the podcast, but I'm asking you for something today. Right now, South Australia bow hunting is under attack. We are losing it in December if we can't make waves happen. And there is an organisation, they've put it together on handsoff.au. That's handsoff.au. They're putting together another petition. It's like a one last, let's try to see what we can do. And what we really need is everyone to put in some effort and try to do what we can against the South Australian government. And really, these things are being done based on feelings, not based on science, not based on what's actually happening. And the hard thing is that once they go off to one state, it continues to move on. We've seen it already go with Tasmania. South Australia is on the cutting block right now. What is next? I don't know. And I hope it's not a continual thing. But what we need to do is actually speak up and act against them, because if we keep laying back and letting these things happen time and time again, it will just continue to happen. So do your part. Pause the podcast right now. Handsoff.au. That's handsoff.au. Sign the petition. It'll take you all of a minute. And it's doing your part for bow hunting and trying to preserve what we have. On top of that, this week's episode, we had a lot of fun. I was very incredibly grateful. I always am to these boys. Really great mates of mine. I'm loving every trip that I get to do with them. We talk all the time on the phone, and I just enjoy their company in general. We have great conversations, building good relationships. But on top of that, they're also incredibly good hunters and big hearts with sharing everything that they have knowledge base wise for other hunters and improving other hunters in general. Situation happened where my paid for hunt fell through. I rearranged some stuff, and Grant just said, man, come on down. Like, if you can make it this weekend, come on down. So I kind of moved hell and high water and made it happen. And it led me up into being in camp with Grant and Corey. And we had 4 beginners in camp as well. And it was really cool to kind of go back, and there was varying ranges of abilities and where people were actually at regarding their hunts. Some people had never ever taken an animal, some had taken a few, and it was just kind of cool to go through the process from start to finish, watching multiple opportunities come up, watching multiple animals get put down, just watching the thought process of a brand new beginner as well. And we kind of captured a fair bit of that with inside this podcast, and hopefully you guys can get some of the cool insights from that. I really think this is almost like maybe like a becoming a bow hunter in 2024, right? Like a little snippet of some of the things that might help to fast track your thinking and thought process when you're out in the field. Some of the motions that we saw that really ruined a hunt at times, or ruined a stalk, let's say, that if they had just taken a little bit more fluidity in their movement, might not have happened. There was questions that came up that were absolutely incredible, because it's just thought processes that once you get further into the hunting, you just don't think about it. It becomes almost second nature, but until it's second nature, you don't know any idea about it. So there is a lot of really cool insights in this, and I'm going to let you guys listen to it, because that's obviously where all the goodness is. I will put another little word warning on. Obviously, Corey's on this one as well. And if you listen to the last podcast with Corey, you'll understand. But also, we had a few drinks, and the fun was flowing, and so there is a few little naughty words getting thrown about. So if you're with kids and mums around, make sure you tell mum to put her earmuffs on. Kidding. Maybe turn this one off. But anyway, here you guys go. Enjoy this episode. It was us in deer camp, and I hope you guys get a lot out of it. There we go. It's a good little market.
Welcome to deer camp.
Welcome to deer camp again. Thanks for having me, boys. Always a bloody pleasure.
Bloody oath.
Never a chore.
Never a chore. At least I hope not.
Never.
Oh, we
Ever.
wouldn't tell you to your face anyway.
That's usually the way it works out in deer camp, isn't it?
Yep.
Wait till they're gone and then say it.
Yep, that's right. No one's ever in trouble until they've left.
No, just don't get a welcome back.
Well,
Invite back.
you keep coming back.
Yeah, exactly. It's worked out all right. Although you keep telling me I'm not welcome back now.
Yeah, 4 times here, 4 times on the board. Successful hunt. Hunter and hunt.
You and Cambo go in the same category. Tin-ass Matty.
Is that what he gets called too?
Tin-ass
tin-ass
Cam.
cam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Pulls the bow out, shoots bullseyes, ends up on the board, packs the bow away.
But he doesn't touch his bow for a year in between shots.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Fair difference.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
What are you trying to say?
You tin-ass bastard.
No, I always love it down here. It is absolutely incredible. It's like a heaven on earth.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Stalked in. Tell us your story, Matty. Big buck down today. Oh, yesterday.
Mate, that
Finally got it done.
Finally got it done. Yeah. So what? 4th trip.
4
Yep.
trips in the making.
So we got
a few close calls.
had a spiker down a few years ago. What was that? That was the first trip.
Yep.
I did the big boar and then the spiker.
Yeah.
Not to mention tin ass. Deer on the first trip,
My first time ever here.
Yeah. I just came down and just shot a deer, shot a big boar, shot a fox. I did everything.
I haven't shot a fox yet. It's still on the list. It's the only thing I haven't shot.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I know, over 25 billy goat.
No, yeah, I've got a 33 at home.
Not here.
Not here.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
All right, next
The wall,
time.
the
Here
wall,
we go.
mate. Yeah,
Here
the
we
wall.
go.
Now
The wall's all
yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Now you got to
Yeah.
target
All right,
for
you
next
challenged
time.
me.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't go home tomorrow morning.
Yeah, my car's broken down.
Sorry, Stace.
Yeah. No, so I literally, Randy dropped me off and let me go for a little solo hunt. And I've been hunting all morning, just had wind occurrence after occurrence, and came around and saw a bloody big old bench full of deer. There was probably 50 deer on this bench, and it was a fair way away, and I had to walk kind of the big whole ridge around to get to it. And I knew I just had to go slowly down, so I started getting down until I saw deer. Took my shoes off, took my backpack off. I'm like, I'm going to just hang out with these deer for as long as it takes. So I got down and I was watching them for ages. I actually messaged Grant, like, how are you guys going? I'm not going to be back at the car anytime soon. I'm hanging out with some deer. And he goes, shoot one, we need some meat. And-
Well, what I said isn't available for the podcast.
it was close.
Sign up to Patreon.
And so I was sitting there, and I could actually hear the boys going back to the car. I could hear them from down the valley. It was kind of echoing up. I don't know if that's what set the pig up or something else, but this pig just comes up straight through the middle of all these fallows. So 50 fallow deer, they just hop up and start maneuvering around. And sure enough, the buck that I had my eyes on, is there? The buck that I had my eyes on, he hopped up, and I drew back, and he saw me. And he started going straight up the hill, and this other guy came in behind him. And so I had my shot, and it was a pretty steep shot, straight down on top of him. And sure enough, got me buck down. He went down within like 20 metres.
Beautiful.
20.
He would have been, yeah.
Nice.
Straight down the hill.
Didn't go 20.
Didn't go 20.
Didn't go 20.
We got some young mates, or not even young, just young in the industry mates here hunting with us, and we needed some meat so we could teach them how to butcher the deer up, and the big dog got it done for us.
And then we got some more.
Yeah, we got it. We got a couple few. Yeah, we've had a pretty successful hunt, as always in the hills.
It's never a bad time in the hills.
No.
What's the drive? I mean, I think I ask this every time, but what is the drive for bringing people here?
New people to the industry, mate. Teach them how to do it.
Yeah.
Give them our version of the right way to hunt, and share some knowledge and fast track them so they don't have to learn like we did. Well, I got pretty spoilt because I had the big dog teaching me, but that's it. If you learn it, you should teach it and don't hide it.
Yeah. I think that's honestly such a motivator for what I do with the podcast too. It's like I've been kissing the dick, as you boys would say.
Mm-hmm.
With
As small as it is.
sharing the knowledge and helping me out. I mean, obviously the podcast acts as a platform, but I just see it as everyone comes, like people, I ask them to help me and they come and help me. It's incredible. So I'm like, well, why would you not share it?
Yep.
You can't give everyone everything, otherwise everyone will end up being a pack of lazy bastards.
Definitely.
That's true.
But if you give them the blueprints and the foundation for it, like, yeah.
Take a man to water and he'll drink.
It's a horse, I think.
Yep, that's what I said. That's what I said.
Full disclosure, this podcast is multiple drinks deep.
We had a
Late in the
successful
night.
afternoon.
We had a
Early
good
in the
arvo.
morning.
We had a good arvo, so we're celebrating.
Yep.
But no, the drive for it, like for myself anyway, I had to learn the hard way. Bad form, bad hunting practices, bad everything. And then I had a fella point me in the right direction and do a few things and help me along the way. And
Who was that fella?
Corey.
Scotty.
Corey, you're still mine. Come on. Scotty.
Scotty Fraser. Yeah, like sort of showed me a few things and took me under his ring, and yeah, be forever grateful.
What
for,
did you say?
His ring. He literally
his
just
wing.
shit on him.
Not his wing. He let me figure his ring.
This is now going to have to be edited. you
No
fucking
editing.
idiot.
You said
No editing.
ring, but you meant wing.
I meant wing.
Yeah, we knew what you meant.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. But yeah, no, that put me in the right direction and helped me like an absolute bucket load. And yeah, I just sort of feel like now it's the right thing to do, and yeah, the more people that
Pussy.
are in it doing the right thing and know, the more education, the better sport will be. Is sort of my take on it.
And not everyone has the same fruitful excitement that we have here.
Oh, there's a lot of selfish people out there, but as everyone works out, selfish don't last long here.
No,
So,
definitely.
We've seen that today. Perfect example. A very selfless act ended up in a proper mountain boar hitting the deck for one of the fellas. So
We did.
We
Corey,
did. I'll tell this story, actually.
Big old first, hey?
Big old first, all right. Big mountain boar for old Danny Ivan Malat. We were up in the hills, and the boys... Danny's sitting in the background.
Closer to Jack the Ripper, but
Yeah, Danny's sitting in the background going, give some context. So he got the nickname Ivan Malat because we're literally teaching him how to sharpen a knife, and he's like hacking the knife back and forth.
He has his hands very close to the knife every time.
It was sharpening pilot cuts with his thumb on the steel. Yeah.
likes to live on the edge.
We were up in the hills and the wind was blowing. We've gone for a search for a release aid, and old Ivan has left his release aid in the hills like a knucklehead. So our morning, our afternoon, starts with a big hike up a big old hill, and Danny and I and Nath walking up this big old hill, and the three of us are literally getting blown like kites up the top of this mountain, and I have a plan to head into a gully to try and get out of the wind. And Nathan's chasing a deer because he shot pigs and goats, and Danny's like a young, fruitful hunter that's keen on everything. So, but he'd already shot a pig and a goat prior. But we were walking in the mountain, and the wind is howling, and just this afternoon just provided for us.
It was blowing that hard this afternoon. You had to hold your mustache on.
What was
Yeah.
that? It was like 20, 30 knots.
Oh, it was
More,
blowing.
More.
Yeah, it was a 90+ K wind.
I
so
used
90.
another.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. The top of that mountain, mate. I've never had wind like that in these mountains ever.
And then we went into this bowl, and I said, listen to that, and we literally could just hear it in the fucking, in the distance, just like howling. It was crazy.
There was one
It
point
sounded like
there.
a jet taking off.
Yeah,
Well, it was that good. I could literally put my arms out like a bird, and it pushed me up the hill.
push you
It was
around.
great.
It was
and you're a
definitely
fat
pushing
prick, so getting you up a hill.
Yeah, I know. Like it had some bundi.
So anyway, I just said to the boys, I go, there's perks to the wind because the animals can't hear us so good, and we were just talking about different scenarios, different things that can happen, and I was just telling the boys, so the wind, right? Imagine what we're hearing, like the howling of the wind, and they're down lower to the ground. They're hearing this, and their hearing's a lot better than ours. They're hearing this tenfold. So we could walk up, we can be a bit louder, we can move a bit faster.
Sounds like a microphone in the wind.
Exactly. It's for them.
Yeah.
You can only imagine, but that's what you'd assume. Like they can hear us snapping a stick at 60 meters off them. So what does this wind sound like to them? And just so happened, as I say it, the hunting gods, as I'm teaching these fellas, giving them some advice. There's a kangaroo only 7 meters off us, and it's oblivious. Has no idea we're there, and we've just been trudging down a hill, chatting like we're not hunting, and he has no idea.
So crazy because they're usually so onto it.
Yeah, and exactly. Kangaroos are as warrior deer.
Yeah.
And the wind's howling, and this guy's just looking forward, and he has no idea we're behind him. I say, see, boys, look at this. Kangaroo's got no idea we're here. That's the wind.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a bit of a yarn, and we go down the hill. Wind howling, and then this big old mountain boar just pokes his head out of the creek and starts walking on these flats. I say to the boys, here, we're going over to these where the sun's shining in that little gully there, and we head over there, and we've had a little bit of a slow start to normal deer camp style hunting has been a bit slow for me anyway. And
the wind.
the wind's been chances have been slow. We've fruitful, but chances have been slow.
Ruined at the last minute.
Yeah, and this boar came out of the mountains, and was rock hard and ready to party. Boys, that's a big boar. So back to the selflessness. There's 3 of us hunting, and I look back, and Nate's been hunting for 5 or 6 years, and Ivan, Danny, He's been hunting for a year, and I turn to the boys and I say, "That's a big fucking boar!" Like, and I'm fucking excited. So my excitement was leaning more towards Nathan. They give Danny the nudge and said, "You're up, mate. Go and get it." Anyway, we're about 80 metres off, and we scoot down the hill. Like, we move pretty fast. Danny hasn't hunted a boar like this, and with the wind howling and how he was moving, I knew I had to move fast, and we had the high ground, so we scoot down, and we got to 20 metres off him, and Danny just pickled this boar, mate. Like, he was facing away from us 20 metres. I told Danny, we're 20 metres off him, mate. Draw back 20 metres. I said, wait till he steps to the right. Bang, on cue, steps to the right, puts his front leg forward, and Danny just puts this arrow straight in the heart, mate. Top of the heart.
It's such a cool video to watch too, because he literally, 12 metres, runs over, falls over?
10 metres. We'll call it 10 metres, and he's like bucking and kicking in 10 metres, circles, dead. Yeah. It's like a 13-second video.
So good.
Yeah. And he's a big ball. What did he score? He scored 24 and 6/8. First boar, first big mountain boar he shot. First year hunting, and he's got that on the deck.
Pretty incredible.
You can't get that. You can't get that experience anywhere else.
No.
Yeah. Old deer camp's very fruitful.
It is. I fucking love it here.
Yeah.
I always say it. What have been? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things you say throughout a weekend like this where you're showing you people. But what are some of the surprising things where you forget and you're like, oh, that's right. Like, is there anything that comes to mind of like what they ask you, the questions that come to mind for those people?
Oh, I have a few.
There's so many.
Yeah, direction.
Yeah.
Some of these fellas that haven't hunted before don't even like the questions. They're awesome questions because we all ask them.
Well, that's the
we
thing.
all
It's like
thought
you're
of
so
them.
far from it that you forget about it.
Yeah,
right?
like we got a question this afternoon about hunting the direction of the wind or walking to a destination to hunt for the direction of wind.
Mm.
So, are we hunting with the wind constantly in our face, or do we have to walk through shit wind to get to a spot to hunt with good wind?
Mm.
Fucking awesome question. Because it's the truth. Like, sometimes
Definitely.
you have to walk through shit wind
To be able to get to a good place.
to get higher ground or get to a spot where you can then come back onto yourself or go into a river or gully or creek or whatever you want to have better wind to then hunt the
And it
animal.
really depends on if you know your block or not, right? Like, if you know where you want to go, based on, hey, wind's blowing, here's probably going to be a good location.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Slay the dragon, get the princess.
Please
Well,
elaborate.
another good question, like one of the boys asked, was, when it's last light, do you change where you aim because it's lower light?
Yeah.
And it's a bit harder to do, and doesn't matter what time of the day it is, what light it is, the vitals don't move. That don't change. You still aim in the same spot. But yeah, it's not something that you think about. But for the guys that haven't done any of this before, there's so many things you don't think about that people that don't know or that are new to it just don't understand or don't. Yeah, and you assume it's just common knowledge because you've been doing it for so long. It's just it's a blueprint. It's in the DNA of it all, and it's crazy. Like, it's been an eye opener, that's for sure.
It's pretty cool because, perfect question, because these fellas that we're teaching to bow hunt are asking us questions that remind us how to bow hunt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the most basic stuff.
Yeah.
It is innate, right?
Yeah.
It becomes innate. The more you keep doing it, you're like, oh, like this is just bow hunting. It's just what I do.
Yep.
And you start to forget the little simple processes that you do.
Like Danny losing his release aid, and Nate said, "Oh, this is why I like my wrist." I said, "Yeah, but I have a thumb release aid as well. But there's a subconscious in my archery that once my shot is done, I don't do it intentionally, but there's some part of my process that puts my release aid back in my pack."
Yes, it's the process you go through.
It's literally like I'll take my shot, and sometimes I don't even. I literally go, "Fuck, where did I put that release aid?" And it's back in its pouch.
Yeah.
It's like it's just something that just comes. And Danny's learned a hard lesson because we've lost a expensive release aid in the hills.
It'll come up eventually.
Hopefully, one of the days it'll pop up. It's aluminium.
Oh, yeah,
so
we'll go
won't
back and
rust.
find it. Look out shortly on Marketplace. We'll have
Factual
a sale
Marketplace,
check.
here we go. Just not you, Danny. Don't look for it.
We might hide you from the posts.
Sage from Bow Onyx.
If anyone sees it, yeah.
Yeah,
Send
if
it to
anyone
Ivan Black.
sees it. That's
but
a
it's good.
nickname you don't want to stick, is it? He really doesn't like the nickname, but unfortunately it stuck like shit. We'll
Well,
make
when
it.
you say I don't want the nickname to stick, naturally it sticks.
Yeah.
No, it's been good. We just had a big night of butchering carcasses and cryovac meat and teaching the fellas.
Primary cuts, secondary cuts, what to mince, what not to mince, what not to waste your time on.
Different broadheads and how efficient they are going through fighting.
That was cool to see because I'd heard about it plenty, but I'd never seen it done.
Well,
And today we went through it, and we didn't have many.
We didn't
broadheads.
have our fancy machine.
No, exactly, but
that
it was
tells
just
you a scale, like an actual. It gives you a digital readout and a scale
but we did field talk.
of it. But yeah,
It was just a hand touch, essentially, like pushing your hand on the
Yeah.
knock. So on top of the knock, you're getting pressure back, obviously, through that. And then watching what couldn't just push through with that and had to have hands on both sides. And then on top of that, like, Corey is a big boy, and he was fucking giving everything he could to this
that
broadhead.
arrow was flexed up. I thought he might have got carbon through his
I
hand.
honestly think it was going to break, yeah. The
if
way
it did, I would have pissed myself laughing.
Yeah, it would have, because I'm a stubborn prick and Grant couldn't get it, so I had to get it. And I did get it just for the fans, but Grant didn't get it, just letting everyone know. But
I'm not going to shit talk on other companies, but it proved how good the Kayugas are.
yeah, it really does.
Essentially, like, all of the Kayuga broadheads went through with the push of a hand on the back of a...
Or a little bit of bundi, like you're thinking about a 70-pound bow and 20 meters of kinetic energy flying through the air, and we're just standing in the paddock, freezing cold, 4 degrees? 2 hands, slimy hands on an arrow, trying to push a broadhead through
No, we're still going. We're good.
push a broadhead through a fighting pad,
Technical
and a
issues.
fighting pad on a 90-kilo ball, like a big old fighting pad too, big old mountain ball.
Yeah, that's what we were testing it on. So essentially, you cut off the mountain ball that Danny got today,
Yeah.
and then we're just pushing the broadheads through on an arrow
Well,
to test it out.
Brought it back to see, like, he shot it with a pilot cut there, and it come through and it hit the femur bone, and it took a dirty great big chunk out of that bone.
Yeah.
Continued through, come out, punched out the offside shoulder,
Yep.
and then recovered the arrow. Like, arrow snapped because it was locked up between him. Broadhead's come out, it needs a little touch up, and it's ready to go back in the quiver. Like,
Oh, and even the bleeders. The bleeders,
bleeders was still good. On that there,
tiny
but it
little
was
jagger
just-
on one edge. That's
it
an
was
easy
showing the
fix.
boys how much force you actually need to punch that through. So if you've got, let's just say you're running, 60 odd foot-pounds of kinetic energy out of a bow, if you need 50 pounds of kinetic or 50 pounds of energy to press that broadhead through the shoulder or through that fighting pad, you've only got 10 pounds left
ACL,
of
mate.
energy to punch right into that vital area, that vital chest cavity. So, yeah, broadheads with really steep angles and short steep angles and stuff like that. Just, they don't cut the mustard.
I think it's interesting because obviously everyone's like, well, the wider a broadhead is, the better the cut's going to be, right?
Not always.
The bigger it's going to be, which is great because that's going to get the job done.
Well, the wider they go, they
Slow
counter
down.
that by the steepness of the blade too. So these short, wide arrows, they're basically bunny busters in my books. Like, we just tried to put one of them through a fighting pad, and we had 115 kilos of man mountain hanging off it, and it won't fucking push through a fighting pad.
Yeah, and this is a 2-blade wide.
Yeah,
set.
it's not a
very
3-blade, it's not anything there.
short
It's
2-blade.
It's pretty standard in the
Yeah.
market today.
Yeah.
And then you get some other heads there, and you can push it straight through the scapula with your
Yeah.
hand with less force.
Yeah.
The Zot in particular, right? Just like
Oh, like butter.
straight through.
That thing just like like our test there, it's 6-7 pounds of force to push it through. It's ridiculous. Like,
I mean, the Trizot was one that I was like, I'm not sure how it would go through bone in particular. And this weekend we've seen it go through bone multiple times now. And literally
What bones?
legs, spines,
Yep.
mixture,
Yep. Necks, legs,
Necks,
shoulders, chests.
mixture of things. And essentially, it's a replaceable blade for a reason, right?
Yeah.
well, it's a market driven head because people can't or people maybe people are too lazy, maybe people don't have the skill anymore to to resharpen the broadheads, and it was always a big question. How do I sharpen it? I can't sharpen it. I struggle to sharpen it. So, replaceable blade head, chemically sharpened blades. You shoot it, it goes through a critter, it bangs up one blade on a bone or something like that. We supply spare blades. You put a new blade in.
We had one
you're ready to go again.
in the hills this morning, actually, where new fella as well. He's drawing his bow back, and I'm walking him in on a pig, and I've noticed that on his trizod he's only got 2 blades in there, and I go, fuck me dead, draw down, and we're only 20 metres off a pig. It probably would have smoked the pig with the 2 blades it had, but I say draw down. I go, what are you doing? And we have a look, and there's only 2 blades on this broadhead.
Yeah, it's loose in the quiver.
And well, it was previously loose, and noticed that the 2 blades had gone. The blade had gone. And I said, mate, that broadhead is like
You can't.
when you
can't
put the
shoot that.
broadhead on, you got to tighten the broadhead up to start with. Like the broadheads come with a little sleeve that hold the blades
Place.
in
Yeah.
because they're replaceable blades. When you put it on your arrow, you have to tighten the fucking thing up.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
so
Don't be scared.
if it's
tighten
not
them
tight, and then it's rattling around in your quiver, you're going to lose the blade.
yeah.
You go and shoot the animal, you're shooting with a field point with 2 blades.
Where a bit of bow wax or something comes in
Yeah.
handy,
Oh,
right?
on that
Help you
on that
wind it up.
string there. That's awesome.
Yeah, using a fly, like a
Easy lap with the
Yeah,
broadhead tightener on it.
Not too far off. We'll have a broadhead wrench there, but yeah, the workshop has a built-in broadhead wrench in it for 2, 3, and 4 blade broadheads.
Nathan's just holding his up now.
Yeah, he's showing us there. Yeah, it is. I only learnt this the other day that they have it built in. I was
Yeah, it's
like-
underneath the files.
Yeah, you just take the little plates off. It's a magnetic plate that holds them on, and they're there. Look,
Oh, that's awesome.
that's a handy thing to have in your bag.
Just to give that little nip up, the broadheads all need to be tight. Otherwise,
Yeah.
these snapped broadheads that you are getting is because
they're
the
loose,
broadheads
and then
are
they
turning.
just torque up all at once.
Yeah, that's right. They're talking up and they're snapping on the head, where you can just do it yourself. Yep. 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 Danny's saying the same thing happened to him. He didn't tighten his broadhead up properly, and he snapped the broadhead.
After a shot, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to how strong the wind was today, that valley over to Billy Hilly, how big do you reckon that is? Probably 800 metres from the top?
Yeah.
Yeah, so literally I was standing on top of it. Deer, I was watching them through the glass, and they were just fine, happy eating. This breeze comes straight over my back, and I watched them just run away. I'm like, that was me.
Yep.
That was literally me.
Yep.
Watching them off the top of the
Oh,
the
yeah,
hill there.
If you have a direct wind, mate, they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very interesting to watch. I'm like, you're looking at it, you're like, there's no way they're going to, they look like goats
They're
on
not
the hill
spooking, yeah.
across from me. Like,
Yeah.
they look so small. Looking through the glass, I'm like, oh, it'd just be cool to watch them for a little bit. Sure enough, take off. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
like, just showcases how strong the
You've
wind
been
was.
good at blowing critters out with your scent today.
Hey,
Yeah, I was
Randy's
unfortunate.
dirty.
Randy told us, stay here, do not move. And so we
Ah,
stayed there,
captain's
and we
orders.
did not move. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, so he has to blame someone. Matty hasn't even left yet, and you're
Exactly.
blaming
Yeah,
him.
he can't even blame himself, this bloke. Bloody hell. But
Gotta pass the
no,
buck
no, we
somehow.
had. It could happen. Like, yeah, it's just an unfortunate circumstance. We had the wind blowing. Let's just say it was southwest, and it was like blowing, like proper blowing. For the last
Consistent.
half hour, consistently that way. We snuck up around and cut in front of this mob of goats there, and the billy in the front there was pretty handy. We got down with 27 metres. The wind, I'll make come to full draw there. The wind was blowing that hard, like the bow was just
His
getting
bow was
pushed around, like
flying.
it was shaking like a dog shitting razor blades. And yeah, he did the ethical thing and chose not to take the shot just because he couldn't settle the pin and it was all moving that
And
much.
he had a shot previously this morning and didn't feel like he'd done his shot sequence and he wasn't happy with the way it went. So he didn't want his next
Oh,
shot to be.
100%, did the right thing. You'll
Yeah.
never regret a shot you don't take.
Yeah.
If you take a shot that you're questioning when you go through the process, pretty good chance you'll regret it later. But no, he didn't take the shot. And yeah, the wind just for a split second just swirled back up, pushed the boys' scent straight up, spooked this mob, and they all blew out. And yeah, that was that. But
Yeah, we
Yeah.
felt pretty bad, that's for sure.
but it was a real good thing there on the that not taking a shot just because it's
Definitely.
there.
Yeah.
It's not right. And yeah, just having that little bit of self-control, like you, I say it all the time. You never regret a shot you don't take. Fuck, I've got hundreds, or maybe not hundreds, but it'll be close to it that I've taken, and yeah, I still think now.
Well, even
Sometimes
if,
you
it's,
learn.
even if it's right in the time that you take it, it's always a thought after that you go, far out, this happened and it shouldn't have happened.
It's a fine balance, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously you need to take opportunities to make them happen, but at the same time, there's if it's not the right
Well, you can't-
opportunity, exactly,
You
there's going
can't
to be
sit
learning
around and
lessons.
wait for it to fall into your lap,
100%.
and sometimes you have to make it happen. But there's certain circumstances where, let's just say your shot process takes half a second or 1 second from you committing to it and going, yep, I'm doing this. You go through your process, you tell yourself whatever your safe word is, you know, beans and rice.
Focus, you fuckwit.
Thanks. That's my one, but anyway, get your own.
It's on my bow.
You go through my elbow. You go through your process, and yeah, like I had one there today where it was everything was looking great, and then as the shot broke, the pigs reacted at the exact same time, and it's just turned what would have been an absolute fucking just pizzled this thing, and it's it's just turned into gone from a 99% shot to a 50-50 shot, all in half a second, if not less, milliseconds. It's a
I think,
game of inches.
I think people think of pigs as slow, but they're not at all,
Right,
right?
no, they react.
Like they react so much. If they're somewhat aware, then they react to a.
Dumb old mob pigs. Yeah, they're pretty, like, you get away with a fair bit, but this was a pretty good
Big old mountain boar.
pretty
but-
good hooky old mountain boar, and he's been in too many close calls to hang around and find out bad news. So
Oh, that's why I was so excited this afternoon when Danny pizzled this ball, mate, because we've
that
had...
Ivan, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'll cut fingers a lot. But, you know, we do the hard yards and we walk them around and we try to show them everything we can or teach them whatever we can, and then get them into their spot to shoot, and then it's up to them, right?
Well, and that's what I was about to say. Is like, what are some of the small things that happen that you forget to? It's not that you have to warn them about it, but it doesn't happen until it happens. They don't know it's a thing.
Yeah, like standing
Like-
up too fast.
Or standing up too fast. The other one was, for instance, for Danny, was he took a step after he drew back. So he drew back, took a
As he
step,
drew back, so he stepped and drew back onto a stick
and
on a better ball.
that was the snap, and that was enough for the boar to run away.
Yeah, so we were only 20 yards off 20 metres for us Aussies, but Danny's a bloody Ivan Malat. And he uses yards, but anyway.
Wasn't he Aussie?
He's Aussie, yeah. Yeah, he's British, yeah. We won't hold it against him.
You guys adopted metric, so you got no excuses.
I think I've definitely seen a few sky draws happening.
Yeah.
Um,
I done that too, but Matty, on my first rooster stag, I drew my bow back, and I just wanted to take one little step forward because my 20 metres that I was at 21 metres, and I just needed to get that 1 metre to have my. I should have just. I took
shot.
the one step forward and I blew my first rooster stag.
I mean, that's why it's really valuable to also shoot at 21, 22, 23, 24,
And see
25.
where it lands.
See where
Yeah,
it lands.
yeah.
Because usually it's going to be pretty similar to your 20 pin.
Yeah,
Mate,
it's the same dot.
One of the best things we did in camp over the weekend
Oh, first, yeah.
was
Yeah. Got
everyone
to shoot their
shoot
bows.
the target first, right? And 2 from 4?
2 from
3
4.
from 4?
Had bow issues.
2 from 4 had like proper miss animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit's not working right. One was just a little minor tweak to get it right. But yeah, just like simple things like that. But we set up in multiple different positions, like 2-3 meters apart. Took shots at different targets at different angles, just to like get the concept of
Where the arrow goes in and out.
it's not always broadside,
Definitely.
and it's not always 20. It might be 23. It might be 24. It could be 27. And if you don't have a sliding sight, learning to like split pins, learning that stuff at camp before you're out there having to do it at full draw, at an animal, all the nerves and all that stuff there. Like, yeah, if you practice it before, when you're in front of an animal, it should just be something that you've done multiple times before. It should just be don't look at the hooks, don't look at the antlers, don't look at the horns. Just pick a spot, burn it, execute your shot, and away you go.
But everyone here, as well, in that same sentiment, have come back from a hunt, and if they haven't loosed an arrow, I want to shoot my bow.
Yeah.
They're all shooting their bow. Everyone's shooting their bow.
Can't do it enough.
It's great.
But I think one of the things you guys were explaining was like, hey, imagine the vitals in a box, and whichever angle you are of that box, you still have to shoot through the vitals, right? So it's like if you're low and the box is up high, you have to shoot through the box.
That's right.
You have to think about where it's exiting. If you're high, you have to shoot down through the box. If you're side on, you have to shoot side on through the box. Remember, you're still attached, Grant. Even as you go, it's fine.
I'm going for a toilet break.
He's going to have a traveller. Little danger out the back.
But essentially, it's like that is a cool concept to understand, right? It's like as you maneuver around that box, you still have to shoot through the same way. You still have to think about, okay, well, where am I exiting?
Yep.
Not necessarily where am I entering. And I think that's something that a lot of bow hunters for many years have said to me through the podcast is always think about where you're exiting. But that's such a foreign concept to think about. It's like, well, here's the triangle they've been told about. Or this is where the lungs sit on the beast.
Aim for a point or aim for a dot. Or
Exactly. Like,
whatever
well,
it
if I
is.
just hit behind the shoulder somewhere, and it's like, well, yes, but you also need to think about where you are.
Yeah, if you've got a quartering on animal and you're trying to hit, but we had one first morning, you try to hit behind the shoulder and you have a quartering on animal, you're going to gut shoot that animal.
Exactly.
We're very, very lucky that the animal that we had took a very sharp, like you were talking before about pigs being aware, the pig that we shot turned hard on the shot, left hand down, and opened up to a quartering away shot.
Yeah.
So went from a quartering on shot to like a very steep quartering away shot, and the shot was perfect. But if you draw the line back to where the shot should have been, it's not a perfect shot. It was just lucky the animal turned the way it did.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Whenever you shoot a 3D setup, almost all the targets are always set up broadside, like perfectly broadside. There's not, you never really go to something where they're set quartering on, quartering away.
Hillside down, hillside up.
Yeah, I like the hillside side of it. Some of that 3D AAA and stuff, they do a bit of that, like you're up and down just to throw you off a bit. But the angles of it, they
Never
don't
change.
They don't
Yeah.
focus on. Like we did, we're doing a fair few of the shoots at St Mary's. They do a shoot there. Charlie organises that. I think it's the first or
Give him a
second
plug,
Wednesday.
mate. Go and give him a plug.
Second Wednesday of every month. It's actually a really good thing. It's a real good group of guys that go to it and shoot it. So if you're in that Sydney area, check
Nathan
it
was
out.
saying how good it was. He
Oh,
reckons
man.
there's hundreds.
Well, this,
I rate it.
yeah,
It's good. Yeah, I've only been twice and I've learned heaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really good. Good community.
Nathan's talking like we can all hear him.
And Nathan just
We
said that
can't.
he really loves St Mary's and it's a good community and like everyone's welcome there. He really loves it.
Yeah.
But the other week we did like different angles, different shot placement and stuff like that, and a lot of the guys were shooting as if it was broadside at different angles and stuff like that. And yeah, explaining it, and you can just see the gears ticking
Oh,
over in the
ticking,
head,
yeah.
and then they're like,
But isn't it funny
it
about your
makes
10 ring?
sense. Yeah, where the 10 ring is on a target isn't
It's never a kill shot.
And the boys,
not particular. Like it's lung, it's double lung.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to be sort of
not
Yeah.
always double.
Borderline,
Down and-
lung,
down
yeah,
and
borderline
in.
liver.
Yeah, it is.
Right,
It's a liver
yeah.
shot.
different targets,
Different,
things,
yeah, exactly.
but-
And that's the thing. Then the different variations.
Because
Like
they're trying
brands.
to center mass the target to try and save the target.
Also, American animals have slightly different.
Bigger lungs,
Like they've
further back
not so
artery-
much. Their
further back
vitals
vitals,
sit a little
yeah.
bit higher in their chest cavity and stuff like that. So, and given that predominantly all the targets are produced over there for them, they'll
Makes
make
sense.
it to
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
their animals and stuff like that. But yeah, like things to take into consideration are your angle. If you're above the animal, you actually have to enter your arrow higher so it exits lower. Like it's not a piece of paper. It's not just a two-dimensional object. You have to consider that the heart is in the middle of the animal. The lungs sit around it.
Yep.
If you're taking that shot and you hit it, where you'd shoot it perfectly broadside and let's say you're 20 metres out and 3 or 4 metres of elevation, you actually need to be an inch or an inch and a half higher than what you would normally aim if you were on level ground with it.
So
Because
the backside of the arrow.
basically, yeah, so you're entering higher and exiting lower, but when that arrow goes through the center of the animal, that's where you'd aim when you're on like level ground with it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Like we had one of the boys on the this weekend who was saying like, I was trying to think about the arc of the arrow rather than just reading whatever his rangefinder was saying.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, I'm shooting high because that's where the arrow will probably enter based on this distance. I'm like, well, no, you're too short of a distance to
Yeah,
worry
that's
about
right. You're
that.
not shooting at 90 metres.
Well,
Yeah.
at 20, 30 metres.
Even 40
that-
metres for some bows.
Yeah, like even, 40 you probably want to be a little bit more on your game and have a rangefinder that's got that arc calculation in it. But at 20 and 30, you might be an inch or 25 mil, up or down your impact point of where you are. Obviously, your left and right doesn't change. But if you're aiming front leg, third the way up in that triangle, if you're an inch high or an inch low or an inch back or an inch forward, it's still a kill shot. Doesn't matter what way you look at it. So 20, 30, like that arc isn't as big a thing unless you're on a really stupid angle. But as I said, like if you're, 20 or 30 metres and there's, say, 2 to 4 metres of height difference between you, you're not going to be that far out that you need to go, I need to compensate for that. I need to compensate high, I need to compensate low. Like, your arrow's going to hit the point.
Mm.
Once you start pushing out 40, 50, 60, 70, and you might have a 10 or a 20 metre elevation difference, that's when that arc calculation can be the difference. Like, I think it was Rennie Solaris, he shot one of his critters, and it was like a 60 metre ballistic distance from A to B, but he had to take the shot as if it was 70 metres because of the arc and stuff like that. So straight away, your rangefinder, you're 10 metres out, and at 60 and 70 metres, 10 metres is the difference between putting the pin on the animal and putting the pin off the animal. So it's a hit or
Fair
a clean
difference
miss.
too.
Oh, it's a massive...
So did you ever rangefinder telling him that difference?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So he used a 70 pin 40, 60 metre shot?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It may not have been those exact
Yeah, but I understand
numbers,
what
but
you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
that's the concept there of it. So...
So it's different to your angle gradients, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
what
Shooting
other
up a hill,
what
down a
other
hill.
special rangefinders that do that?
Oh, they have so I don't even know if the one I'm running has that built into it. I know the Nikon Archer's Choice has they call it arc calculation or arc technology or something along those lines. So it'll give you like two little numbers on your screen. So it'll give you your like line of sight distance, but then it'll do a calculation for your pin distance. I'm not too sure if the Vortex I'm running does that.
Mine definitely
Like
doesn't.
in the background, or whether it just automatically gives you
Does
that
it for
number.
it, yeah.
But it's definitely like for those that are looking at stretching the legs on their shots and whatnot, it's definitely worth working out if your rangefinder does have that arc technology in it. Otherwise, potentially you could be putting your pin on something that you think is going to be an absolute smoke show, and you end up shooting
At the same
a couple of inches high, a couple of inches low. Like,
I was going to say at the same time, if you're shooting under 30, which most bow hunters
Not
are
a
aiming
drama.
for, yeah, exactly. You don't have to worry
you
about
don't. And that was sort of the moral of my thing there with it was, that 20 to 30, your point of impact doesn't change that much that you need to want to compensate, or try and compensate for it. Like, it's going to hit that point. Unless you're taking a 20 metre shot that's, 85 degrees downhill, that's when it starts to really change and you need to know those numbers. But for majority of stuff there where you're hunting on sort of rolling hills and even semi-steep gullies and stuff like that, your distance to elevation isn't going to be that big a ratioed out that you need to really start trying to do those trigonometry calculations and guesstimate where you're going to hit.
Back
Yeah.
to your question before, Matty, about the questions that the
Oh, yeah,
new
people
fellas
asking.
are asking.
Yep.
So we had a query about, like a quartering away shot and putting an arrow through the guts to hit vitals, like a steep quartering away shot, do you take it or not? And, you say, well, obviously try not to take it, but if it's the only shot you can take, you take the shot. And his question was for meat. So what do you do with the meat then? If you've put the arrow through the guts and then through the
It's
shoulder?
the concept of once it's been touched by the guts, you can't have it, right?
Well, there is a
That's the
concept
thought
of
process.
that.
Yeah.
That's the thought process, but you zipper the animal, you get rid of the guts as fast as possible. And like Randy said to the boys, any meat that's tainted by the gut, you get rid of.
Exactly.
But you don't ruin the whole thing.
Yeah.
So there's still plenty of meat in that animal.
100%.
And it's a lethal shot. So if that's the shot you have to take, still take the shot and deal with your gut later, you know, like get the guts out as fast as possible, zipper it, get rid of it, get rid of your mess.
Yeah.
Any tainted meat you see, take it out.
Definitely.
Yeah, discoloration and stuff like that, or anywhere where like we had a deer there that we shot there and we're doing the butchering of it, and someone was a little bit rough with a knife and nicked something there, and we put a bit of that, not so much
Cud?
gut, but the cud before it, like before they
Turns to
re-chew
bile.
it
Yeah.
and it goes back into the system. That come out and it got sort of down on a bit of the brisket. Most of it went on the skin, but yeah, literally just cut
That part
half
off.
an inch of skin off, and you wouldn't have even known it happened.
Yeah,
And-
so it's not a ruined animal.
No. And if it's if you're worried about it, then just
Don't
do the
take the
gutless
shot.
method. Yeah. Or I was going to say, if you take that shot and you
Take your
don't
back
want to take
straps,
any,
take
take
your
your back
legs.
straps, take your legs,
Yep.
take your neck, you're
Yep.
good.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You only lose a few cuts of meat.
Yeah.
with the
Exactly.
gutless method. Yeah.
And one other shot that I'll advocate for people that aren't brand new, quartering on, or the reverse quartering away shot. Understand it and learn it, so if you're put in the situation to do it, you understand what you need to do to execute it. Don't just mill around it and go, yeah, I know what to do, and then when the time comes, freak out and
Put it on the wrong side of the shoulder.
put it on the wrong side of
Yeah.
the shoulder. Like, yeah, it's the exact reverse. Right? So everyone goes, the quartering away shot is the absolute best shot in archery because it opens up the area you can shoot, and it gives you like a bigger range because of the angle. You can go through two lungs, top of the heart. Like you can hit all three vitals, liver, lung, and heart with that quartering away shot if it's done correctly. You can do the exact same with a quartering on shot. The difference is when you're quartering away, the target is a lot bigger to aim at. When it's quartering on, it's a lot smaller because you've got that front shoulder blade and scapula and all of that to
Yeah. It's
contend
also
with.
narrow all of a sudden.
So if it's your first animal, probably don't take a quartering on shot. But yeah, don't not consider it as an ethical shot because it's
But in that same
It's extremely
message,
possible.
you say not to take a Texas heart shot, which is the exact same thing but backwards, and it's softer. There's no front shoulders.
I think it all comes down to distance, right? As well.
distance, discipline, and experience.
Yeah.
So, but
Definitely.
you would take a front on shot, but not a Texas heart shot, like your words today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that for your first critter.
Definitely not first critter, but if you understand the anatomy, you can take a shot from almost any angle.
If you got the right shot angle, yeah. So
Right
tech-
angle, right gear, etc., etc. Like there's a lot of variables to it, and everything is.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
You need
First
to know
critters.
your limitations. That's the base.
Definitely. And
basics
first critter's
of
not
it.
the first one to figure that out on either.
No, you don't want to be doing that. The only way to get good at killing shit is by killing shit.
Yeah, definitely. It was actually very interesting. One of the guys said to me this weekend, unless it's a goat or a deer today, I don't want to shoot it. I said, dude, take as many opportunities as you can. Like, while you're here, and there is a lot of game, like, you're not gonna get another opportunity like this where there is heaps and heaps of opportunities in a day, and the only way you're going to get better at every different situation is by hunting them. Like today, I drew back on 5 different spiker bucks. I wasn't going to shoot any of them, but I drew back on them just to make sure I was in the process of doing it right.
drawing back on them didn't spook them or.
Well, I'd spooked 2 of them. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a lesson learned.
Yep.
And then I drew back on 3 of them, and I was like, you would be a dead deer.
Yep.
Like, and I let down. They didn't even know I was there.
Yep.
It was awesome. Like, just to go through that process. And it's like, you just have to continuously and consistently practice.
It's always good to hone your skills and challenge yourself and push yourself to that next level, that next little bit. It's that's a wild thing.
That little boring we were talking about, Matty, she's full now, eh?
It's good. We did a good job this weekend.
Yeah.
A few goats, 3 deer.
Yeah.
Tell me, stalking. What have been some of the things that people have consistently done or just done in general that you've kind of noticed? Like, obviously we saw the step with the shot,
Yep.
But I think we talked a lot about
fence line hunting on pigs. So something Randy taught me a long time ago was, imagine you're laying on your belly as a human with your neck up, staring down a fence line, and you're, say, they're up the hill and you're down the hill, and if you drew a straight line, you're almost straight up and down along the fence. But you've got this slightly quartering angle, and you're on your belly looking up down the fence. What are you going to see? You're going to see fence posts and star pickets, right?
Yep.
So we're 80 metres off pigs, and you try to get the fellas to have their own stalks and explain to them what you would do, and I say hug the fence line, and we're hunting fast because the wind's being a bastard. And so hug the fence line with your bow on your face, get into your bow range, draw back, take the shot.
Yep.
And for some reason kept drawing away from the fence line. So whether
Just
it's
steering clear.
instinct, trying to drag him away to get angles or whatever it is, and then after the hunt, I say, or after the stalk, hey, listen, this is why I say stay close to the fence line. Imagine you're on your belly, because you can't explain the scenario while you're doing the hunt.
Yeah.
You just say,
Especially when you need to get there quick.
stay close to the fence line. They're not going to see you. You give them a short little brief, and then after the hunt, explain to me, and then Brian's a very smart fellow, so he understands. You have to explain to him, he understands, and I say, so they don't see that fence line. It's a big shiny silver thing, or big timber posts, depending on what fence you're at, and you're just walking along that fence. Steep quartering way, it looks like one big fucking fence post.
Well, it helps break your outline out. Like if you're staying vertical, same as if you're stalking between a whole heap of vertical trees, if you get down like a big blob, you're going to look out of place. If you just stay upright and vertical, you're just going to fit in with your surroundings.
Yeah.
By staying on that fence line, if they do look up, they're looking at
A fence post.
Yep, it's a whole heap of straight stuff. It's vertical. It's up and down, and they go back to doing what they're doing. They don't. You don't stand out. You're not abstract to the scenery.
I let the boys go for a stalk by themselves. So I just said, hey, you want to go and stalk that way? So yeah, I'll go. And then one of the fellas goes, oh, we should go and watch. So I jumped out of my car and walked on top of the dam and started trotting down to try and catch up to him down the hill. Went arse over tit, did a roly-poly, and just walked back to the car. It was a good stalk to watch. Sat back in the car and said, have fun, boys.
I had a similar event today where I pulled up for a fox whistle, a squawk. Started squawking, had my release aid attached on and everything, squawking, nothing came in. I looked down, I hadn't put an arrow on my string. I'm like, oh god, that could have been a nightmare.
Blowing up bow, dry fire. We've had so many foxes this weekend stalking us. So whether it's scent or whatever they've had come to them, like big, beautiful red dogs,
Big winter coat.
Yeah,
foxes.
proper winter coats, like beautiful foxes. And every time we've been in whether it's a stalk or we're sitting and waiting for something to come to us, we've had a fox come and stalk us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I seen one today. Had a few fox calls and pretty much ended up with a kangaroo in my lap.
4 different kangaroos actually came.
They were extremely
One
excited.
legitimately did
that's
full
alright.
skids. Saw Grant, took off the other way.
Tokyo Drift in front of him.
Yeah. But
I didn't even really notice that. I was too focused on looking.
he
at this
can't.
fox.
He heard something. I was watching him from the side on because I couldn't see the fox. This kangaroo
his shit
full
just went
skidded.
sideways.
Grant just kind of looked like, "What was that?" I'm laughing my ass off.
The old mate was coming in hot. Coming in hot, blowing out snot.
I think one of the things I've noticed a lot with the stalking side of things is it's hard to know when to go fast, when to go slow. Like everyone's preference is to go slow, but it's not necessarily the way you have to act.
Especially in this mountain country when the wind isn't always consistent, you need to push. Sometimes you need to push hard.
I think the use of dead ground, if the animal's not facing you, that stuff is when you can make the moves. When there's wind blowing, you can just chomp, chomp, chomp. You can go.
We've had multiple deer at distances we have a deer at 50 metres and we stalk as close as we possibly can in the hopes that he'll just make a little move towards us to close the gap to sub 30, and we do everything we can do with the trees and the shrubs and the wind to get to that distance and then we have absolutely no cover left, and then the deer just doesn't make that turn that we need him to make.
Yeah
And that's the stalk.
Exactly. Yeah.
He goes left and we want him to come right, he goes left. That's it. It's done.
Yeah.
And then even at the back of our hills, I've tried to explain to the fellas, like, we could have 20 hinds. Those bloody hell. I've been hanging around with these yard fellas.
Everything's back to fuck.
20 does and a couple of spikers and a couple of young heads in a big mob of deer, right? So we've got 30 deer in a mob, and these dudes are keen. They want to shoot deer, right?
Yeah.
And I go, boys, we can't. They're in a big valley, open hills. We can't get in on them. There's 120 eyes staring
Right
at
there.
us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like without any shadows or coverage right beside it.
Yeah.
There's no hope.
Just sometimes animals put themselves in a position where
They
they're
know.
On purpose.
Yep.
Yep.
Like they put themselves out of bow range or out of effective bow range, and they know it, and they'll just sit there and frolic in that because they know you can't close the gap without them seeing you.
Mm.
Another beautiful thing about everyone here, they're all archers, and every single one of them would have big bags full of whatever they wanted to shoot this weekend if they had guns. And every
Yeah.
single one of them have said they'd rather struggle like we are.
Doesn't matter.
To get
Yep.
close.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I think about it all the time. Like, oh, bang, that's a dead deer.
Yeah.
Bang, that's a dead deer.
Yeah.
Bang, that's a dead deer.
Anything 100, sub 100. You know, like, we're at 100 when we spot them.
Yeah. Like, all right, I better get started.
Yeah, that's right. Our hunt starts.
It's been said 100 times. Rifle hunts finish, bow hunts start.
Yeah.
But that moving fast and knowing when to push, when not to push, and the dead ground, like
All learned skills.
sometimes you have to go backwards to go forwards.
Yeah.
That's a hard lesson to like teach people and try and push through and explain. But once you've done it a few times and seen it, like, yeah, not going straight, like direct route can be so beneficial. Like multiple times there, we've gone further backwards than we probably had to go forwards. Like, you know, it might be 100 meters off an animal, and we've had to go back 50 meters, saddle around the bottom of a hill, 300, 400 meters, and pop up. Like this afternoon was a prime example. We come up this, we've seen these goats feeding across. We popped up the hill, we got to the spot, we would have been maybe 70 metres as a crow flies from this mob of goats, and they were feeding across to us. The wind wasn't ideal, so we dropped back. We probably dropped down the hill about 50, and we would have done a 500 metre like loop around, pop back up, put ourselves in a position, and they fed to 25 metres.
Yep.
70 metres versus a
500 loop.
500-600 metre loop, but we got into a position and
Didn't get winded.
they had absolutely no idea we were there until someone else's wind
We got
fucked
winded.
us up. But, you know, not going to blame Matty or anything like that for it. But, you know,
Whereas us with the Boar, it was like wind was howling perfect, even though it was blowing hard, and he was cruising in a direction, and I said, "Go on, Danny, let's go, mate. Like, come on, boogie." And even he hasn't hunted a pig like that. Obviously, in the years bow hunting, he's never hunted a pig of that caliber or that size, and all that fast either. So when I started boogieing, he was second guessing me.
Yeah, he's like, should we be going this fast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I turned around and said, "Come on, motherfucker, let's go. Get up my ass."
I think,
Randy
yeah.
said, "You're a hemorrhoid."
Just stick to my ass like a hemorrhoid.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. Like, you can say it many times over, but they don't understand. Like, when I move, you move. When I stop, you stop.
Yeah.
When I breathe, you breathe. Like, let's
Yeah.
let's get in sync as much as we can here.
Yeah. Like Bryden, yesterday, I'm a big fucker, but I can walk up and down the mountains. Yesterday I pulled up and I said, "Oi, bud, can you try breathing through your nose?" It's like, we're trying to stalk in on some animals. You know he's going to listen. He's probably laughed too, but he's like, walking up the hills and he's like, I'm like, "Come on, bud, through the nose."
it doesn't help that you're half retarded and stubborn as hell. And
Yeah,
just
I love
push,
it.
push,
Yeah, exactly. He needed a breather. You're like, let's fucking go.
hurt like,
Do you want a pig or not?
hurt like a level 100.
We did a beautiful blood trail, although it wasn't successful. He had a shot that was a little bit low, and a weird uphill shot that he. This is what we were talking about before. He wasn't prepared for the shot, and the shot line was perfect, but
just
the height was just like we're talking an inch low.
Yeah.
An inch low, hit the animal, and we had this blood trail, and there's a fella that's never had a blood trail in his life before. So one thing that we can do out of, all right, I had a video of the animal, and I said, you've shot it. You could see exactly where he'd shot it,
Yeah.
because I videoed every shot, I exhibited it. And I said, I don't think it's a lethal shot, but we have good blood. So
Yeah. Let's follow.
let's follow the blood.
Yeah.
We'll teach you how to blood trail. And we're walking up the mountain, and this little pig was zigging and zagging, and mate, if for a blood trail lesson, it was the best thing you could possibly have.
Definitely.
He went left, he went right, he went up, he went down, he circled back onto himself, followed a pad up, and it was like you literally had to follow the blood. And if you tried to overshoot it to assume he was going to that direction, you'd lose the blood.
It always ruins you, right?
Yep.
Anytime you try to assume. Yeah.
So we sat back, and I just made sure I just like sit back with him and say, mate, look. And he's awesome too, because he says, oh, can I lead the blood trail? Because I was leading the blood trail and explaining as we were going, and then he asked the lead. I said, of course you can. So he jumped in front, and he'd lose the blood, but I know where the blood is, so I'd give him a minute to try and find the blood. Bang, he'd find the blood.
Yeah.
So this little pig, zigzag up the hill. It wasn't a lethal shot. It was a slow drip out of a flesh wound on a knee, like on an elbow. So no pigs were harmed. He's a little bit sore, but he'll be right.
Well, I mean, yeah, another situation, Grant, where you actually had a shot. It was a gut shot, so a bit far back, but then the pig literally bedded pretty much in front of you guys, so you were able to get a second one on the pig.
Beautiful.
But it's just like that process of watching what actually happens.
Well, not rushing in straight after the shot and just, like, obviously don't leave it to suffer for an hour and then walk in, but we watched it, it sort of moved across, it moved up, and then it dropped down, it laid up doggo, and we just moved in, got right, put a second arrow into it, and end of story. But picking or knowing when to follow up, knowing when to leave it, the blood trail and different things. We had one of the shots this weekend was an absolute perler, and we watched the pig go down in sight. Like, it went 40 yards downhill and piled up dead, but there wasn't a drop of blood. There was 3 drops of blood in that 40 metres that it went, and we could not, it was the first critter old mate had shot. I wanted to show him the blood trail to just that bit of education to go, right, this is how you follow a blood trail, find your arrow, look at the arrow, look at the blood on the arrow, look at what's on it to get an idea of what you've hit and where you've gone. And we found the arrow, all good on that front, and found the first little bit of blood, plonked the arrow in the ground, and then doing a direct line to where this pig ran, and found the tiniest bit of blood. Then went down, took a few photos with it, and then opened it up, and inside was just congealed blood, like just handfuls. Like I'd cut 3 or 4 handfuls.
Got a pretty cool video of it.
Yeah, it was a real good video. One of the boys that was with us took there just to show that all of that blood that congealed inside the chest cavity is what you would normally look to follow. So if you were in a really thick gully, blackberry choke gully, tall grass, etc., you probably never have found that animal, even though it was
dead on its
excellent
feet.
Shot.
Yeah.
It went 40 yards downhill. Like, everything was good with it. It potentially could have just disappeared because of the environment and the terrain that you're in. And it's just like it was crazy for them to see that as a situation occur. Like, you watch this pig go and it piles up and there's not a drop of blood, and then other circumstances where there's constant blood. There's blood, but you don't find the animal, and you're like, what the?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that on boar before.
Yeah.
Goats and boars, right? Both, like a big billy. Sorry. Billies and boars in general are just both hearty creatures.
Yeah, they are.
And hear of that a lot.
We've had it, Randy and I have had it where Grant tagged this young boar, and we walked into the thick and we were blood trailing, right? This is a crazy story. I'm sure it's happened to heaps of people, but we were tracking this boar and then somehow we just had a change of direction. We went, geez, that's weird. And we start blood trailing this boar away and we blood trailed, this thing for a couple of 100 metres and we caught up to this sow on her rags.
Oh, wow.
We caught up to a sow on her rags and we're blood trailing a sow dripping blood.
Crossed over where
Yeah.
you've been.
So our boar had gone one way and we'd lost a blood trail,
Yeah.
so we probably could have worked our way back, and then here we are chasing a sow.
Yeah, we just found blood and like, we'll follow this.
Yep.
And I did the exact same thing years and years ago with the doe that was on heat in the rut there. It shot one of the pearls with shot a spiker and we're following a blood trail and the pass crossed over and for whatever reason we ended up following this and followed and ended up getting to this doe that she was bleeding from the back end. That's not where I parked my car. But yeah,
You look delicious.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
not as tasty during the rut, that's for sure.
yeah, so it was a pretty wild experience there, but yeah. Blood trails aren't everything, but it's really good to understand that following it and concept, and if you have to, put an arrow in, mark your trail, mark where it is so you can get an idea of where it's going, but
Yeah, if you've got, like, I don't know, some people will take, like, the builder's tape or something like that.
a little
Maybe
marker
little
tape
ribbons
stuff
or whatever
like
it
that.
is. Yeah.
Well worth it if you can.
I got taught, like, if you can find that arrow that you shot, you just
Skewer
stick
it
that
in
in
the
the ground and then keep walking. Obviously, follow your bud, keep moving your arrow, and then when you get to your last blood, you put that arrow in there.
So you know where to come back to.
And then if it becomes a tricky blood trail, you use a second arrow and you put that in the previous last blood you had, if that makes sense, and it gives you a line, so you can start sort of going,
Finding the pad that it's on.
righto,
Yeah.
the last three spots have gone this direction. I need to be looking in that direction
Yep.
because if it's injured or
Wouldn't
if
have worked
it's,
today because this pig was literally
Oh.
zigzagging and it was going up a hill. I knew it wasn't going to die, but I thought it was a cool blood trail to follow.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. But he just zigzagged up this mountain. Like, he literally went back and forth up this mountain. And it was like, me that I've been on blood trails where I know things are going to die. And I'm like, if you're going up a hill like this, you're fine.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
sore, but
Uphill,
he's
yeah.
fine. And we were going up a steep hill, like, not a small hill.
Yeah.
And this thing just powered up this. And not once he bedded, not once.
Yeah, far out.
Back to your stalking question. One thing with the fellas that I've noticed is fast movements when
Yes,
they should
definitely.
be slow,
I
long
noticed that
or
even
short
this afternoon
movements.
watching Grant was so smooth and
Yep.
slow, and behind him just like
Yep,
like
exactly.
robotic,
Yeah,
like,
so
trying to move,
and
like,
I'm
very
trying to
rigid.
find the words that you need
That's
to
fluid.
explain. Fluid
You
is
need
the
to be
word.
fluid.
Fluidity or flow.
Like
Yeah.
slow, like
your
Conor McGregor
movements,
says.
your movements need to be fluid, not
Precision beats power, and timing beats speed. It makes sense in hunting too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm big fella Danny. He's tall,
Yeah.
big fucking lanky motherfucker, and I'm trying to tell him to slow down. So he is slowing down, but he's taking these massive steps, lift the knees up. He's like a giraffe. Boom, the foot goes down. The next one comes up. Boom, the foot goes, and then. So I'm trying to get him to slow down, and he has slowed down, but now it's like a giraffe in slow motion. So I go, oh, hang on a second. Danny, take smaller steps. Bang, I get him.
Yeah.
So one tip is little movements when you're on a stalk. Small, slow, smooth movements. Not sharp, big, like, oh, we have a fox coming in at 40 metres away, and I'm like, hey, we have to stand up. Don't just go and stand up. Like,
Yeah, don't
we're going to
spring up.
slowly build ourselves
Yeah.
to stand up.
It's a saying, slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
fluid,
Right?
That's the
fluid,
saying. Nice, mate.
fluid
Yeah.
movements. Like
Yeah.
just make it a nice movement, not a sharp knee jerky.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just
But even your rangefinder. So everyone has a rangefinder on their bino harness now. So I'm like,
please fuck your lanyards off.
oh yeah, get rid of that. Well, even yards and
Lanyards,
meters.
clips.
So we got our versions here, like yards and meters. So I'll range it and I go, it's 22 meters. And for me, I'm like, fuck, what's the yards? And I'm like, do you have your rangefinder? And, yeah. So they go to get the rangefinder and they go, and they pull it out and they're fucking whipping it out like the MacGyver and they range. And I'm like, just relax, keep it running out slow, you know. Like
The other one I've watched is the rangefinder comes out and it's super slow and it's super smooth and fluid up and the range is done and then it's whack straight back in the pocket. It's like, no.
One and the other.
Up slow, down slow. Like not, you can't.
But these are things that we can fast track them on. And hopefully they don't keep blowing stalks.
And that's the thing. It's like they blow a stalk and you're like, oh,
this is what happened.
I now
This is-
understand.
Like Toby, our friend Toby, we stalked into 30 metres. We talked about it on the podcast, actually, I think. And he sky drew his bow.
Yep.
And he won't ever do that again.
No.
I'm like, Toby, he goes, what happened, Corey? He
We
drew
give
his
him
bow
that
back.
much of a hard time about it.
Yeah, it can't happen again. Yeah, if it happens again, he's...
Same as the boys here this weekend. Every time they've done something that's not like
Telling her
right or whatnot, and it's not being an arsehole. It's constructive criticism, and it's making sure that sticks.
Yeah.
And I'm an arsehole.
Well, I don't do it to be an arsehole. I do it so next time that's like the little angel and the little devil that pops up
That's
in the
right.
head.
They have
There's
the
a little
thoughts
image
themselves.
of me up there going, "Don't fucking do that again."
Yeah, exactly.
And hopefully it converts into a success for them. Like it's
Yeah, I have
little
that.
things.
I think so. Like the failures are the ones that stick out the most, right?
They do. And
Always.
we're like, as bad as it sounds, like we say, oh, come and do this hunt by yourself, and I'm just going to sit back and watch you do it, and then I'll say, this is what I would have done, and this is what you did wrong, and this is, I'm not the best fucking hunter in the world, obviously, but I've been hunting for a long time and around good hunters. So, and if you'll listen and you'll take my advice, I played darts with a lady and she asked me a question the other day and she's like, who do you listen to? Steve Burrell. And they're both very good dartsmen. And I say, well, I'll listen to anyone who's better at darts than me.
Exactly.
Anybody.
You can pinch a salt from everyone.
Yep. And I'll listen to everyone and then I'll take the best advice I've heard and I'll make my own version of it.
And I said that to the boys this weekend. I said, look, you're going to get so much information this weekend. Just like ask as many questions as you can. Like, let it sink in. And when you do something and it doesn't go right, ask the boys what went wrong.
Yep.
If you're sitting with the boys on your shoulder, ask them questions as you're going. Like, just keep asking. Be curious because that's how you're going to learn so much about it.
Yep.
Only bad or dumb questions the one you don't ask.
Exactly.
Oh, unless it's Matty and he says, did you take photos of that big pig you shot? No, I didn't take photos, dickhead.
Yeah, that was extremely stupid on your part.
And then everyone looked at me like I was an idiot.
I just wanted to see the freaking photos.
Yeah.
She doesn't be a dickhead about it.
Well, no,
I'm an asshole.
we have to be dicks about something.
I know.
So
But banter in deer camp's the best, eh?
It is. I love it.
Yeah,
if you're not copping flack, we don't like you.
exactly. I tell people all the time, oh, geez, you're a bit brutal, Corey. I'm like, that, if I'm being brutal, it's because I love you.
Yeah.
I like you. I can have fun with you. And if I'm not doing that, it's because I don't like you. It's simple. Yeah.
Such an Aussie way, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just joke and banter.
Yeah. It's good for you.
Can't take life too seriously.
No, exactly. Any major others we should put in before we shut it off? Because I'm tired.
You got to get up early and drive
do.
9 hours tomorrow. The meat thing was cool.
The meat thing is cool. And I
But-
think one thing I've noticed a lot with teaching people is that they're scared to get in there.
Yeah.
They're afraid to like really get the knife in.
Cut.
And
Yeah.
like look for your bone. Use
Yeah.
your bone. Use it as your edge.
Yep.
Like
Fucking up is just the consequence of having a go.
Yep.
definitely. Yeah.
The only reason most of us know what we know is because we've had a crack, done it wrong, and learnt from
I
the
did it wrong
experience.
yesterday. Big old hairy goat. Fully had a brain fart chopping a back leg out. And I was chopping a back leg off and I just had that, got that sweet spot in a hip that took me ages to find. Big old hairy nanny goat. Give me the shit, something severe. And then I finally found the hip joint to separate the leg and I just completely sliced the rump off and left the rump sitting on a carcass. So, yeah.
Well, you got excited about finding the joint and then just forgot about the
I was
rest.
going
of
to
it.
say, to your defense also, it's all of...
Teaching and...
No, but I was going to say all of like 20 centimetres or 10 centimetres, the rump, right? It's not a huge rump.
Yeah, well, it's not on the
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
Yeah. It still happens, but no, I know what you're saying. Like at one point there, both of us grabbing a knife in their hands, saying, "Feel this,"
Yeah.
and pushing the knife into the bone. Like, what's what we can do?
Sometimes it's like, because you can say it, and you say it, and you say it, and no cue works. So it's like, well, here's a tactical cue then.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
see if
right.
it works that way.
Yeah, or I get their fingers and I go, "Feel this," like. Danny's like, I really want to chop the head off this boar, Corey, because he's taken the head and we've cleaned the skull already. It's boiling right now, actually. Gotta go turn that off. And
Yeah, don't leave the boiler running.
Yeah, don't do that.
he chopped the whole head off himself, and he done a beautiful job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just made him feel around the head. I made him feel where the socket joins in, and with his fingers.
Yeah.
And bang.
I think that's such a thing, right? Like just feeling with your hands and being tactical with it. It makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
Because if you're just cutting blind, you got no idea.
We have no idea. Just hacking at something.
I noticed Danny actually had a bit of troubles with his knife this weekend. He did some research and found what was a good knife, and it is a good knife, but it just loses edge so quickly.
Yeah, very fast.
It is a cheap steel.
Yeah. Pretty much after every single cut, you have to sharpen it.
Yeah, do another steel.
Well, that's a quality over quantity, buy once, cry once type setup.
Yeah.
Which is, I think is a learning lesson, right? Like, it took me a while to learn it in bow hunting. When I got into spearfishing, straight away I'm like, look, take my money.
Yep.
Yeah.
But while you're learning and while you're not, like, it popped up a few times in different things there, like even broadheads. Oh, them ones are $10 more a packet. I'll just stick with these cheap ones. After a little bit of explanation and demonstration, you go, or the boys went, I'd probably pay an extra $20 because I can now understand what you're talking about. Whereas they'd been told, but they didn't see the visual, they didn't see the hands-on, the justification, it just wasn't there. And then just that simple showing it and doing it was straight away, like the light bulb just clicked and went, oh.
Yeah, I see.
Oh, this is why that's actually...
But Matty's a sucker for that too. He hunted in volleys in the mountains for years. And this hunt...
What a dope.
We gave him some volleys because he's been a legend and hunting and...
Volleys? No,
boots, sorry. Boots,
some high-tech volleys.
And then this crazy... Anyway, he trod on a tree stump today.
Again.
And the tree stump has pierced his boots with a heap of tread on the bottom, brand new boots. And if it was in his volleys, he'd have a tree stump to his foot.
Yeah, it pricked me. I go, ooh. And it was a lot of pressure on that stump.
Yeah.
So if that was a volley, it literally would have gone through my foot.
Yeah.
No, on a closing note, new bow hunters and their like fixation with shooting deer.
Yeah, that's been very interesting. And I think we've all been there though as well, right?
Of course.
It's
everyone wants it because it's...
Yeah.
The American market sort of dictates everything that you see, the YouTube, the Instagram. It's just bulk from that, and everyone's, you're shooting deer, you're getting the meat, you're providing for your family. It's the epitome of it. It's the prime. It's a cool trophy, a cool skin, all the meat, prime. Like it's the, it's
pinnacle.
In my eyes, it's the best meat that you can have.
Yeah.
And these guys see that, and they've never shot a critter in there. I want to shoot a deer.
Their first critter, they wanted it.
I
I asked them all, boys, what he's after this
and
weekend?
everyone was
deer. I'm like,
It's like,
how about a rabbit or a pig or a goat?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well.
I want a deer.
I'm like,
I'd guess I'd be all right with it, but a deer.
Well, I say to him, I go, all right, well, I'm setting tiers up then. If you want the deer, here are the levels we're going to do. We're going to have plenty of opportunities. You're going to get a pig and you're going to get a goat. And then if you get a deer, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. I really liked how you did that because it's also like a gauge. Like, hey, you're going to be upset if you just shoot a goat?
Yeah.
Or if you just shoot a pig?
Well, you got to walk before you can run.
Exactly right.
You can't, it's... And then that epitome critter that's sitting in your head that you're all jacked up, you're all pumped up about, and you've never come to full draw, you've never been within distance. If you haven't done all that stuff before, and the thing that you're working towards and that magical point is the first thing that pops up, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to get it right.
Yeah.
And it's going to leave a real bad taste in your mouth, and you're probably going to have the shits on afterwards. And Start small.
Definitely. What was for you
What
guys?
time is it, Matty, you reckon? 1:30.
There you go. Gosh.
We've got to get up in 3 hours.
We do. What was the last question for you guys? The animals that you shot. I did rabbit, goat, hare, pigs, deer was mine.
I did.
That was over 3 years.
I did goat first,
2.5. Yeah.
pig second. Lots of those two.
Yeah.
I did rabbit and then deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's multiples within that as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, lots of in betweens
Yeah.
of those. Yeah,
You also had a very good,
Mental.
and
Like-
spot.
well, you had a very good introduction to
Like
it.
what
and a
what
very
we're
good
doing.
push.
What we're doing now is what I had,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just 1-on-1.
Like mine was.
Cost me a lot of
rabbit.
stretched skin.
Buttholes.
Yeah, exactly. I shouldn't say that on the podcast because Grant doesn't like it getting out there, but share and scare and bow hunting's expensive and arseholes are cheap, everyone. So just let them out there.
You know when he's lying when his lips are moving. But yeah, for me it was a rabbit, a goat, and a pig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the deer came
Yes.
3 or 4 years down the track. Like
it took me 6 years to get a good buck on the ground.
Yeah.
everyone
Definitely.
wants this
Take me.
instant gratification
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
instant
For a good
pinnacle
buck.
point. Just start at the bottom and work your way up. You don't become a CEO of a company overnight.
Well, just imagine an apprenticeship, right?
Yeah.
4 years
4
minimum.
years at least.
Yeah,
Same
minimum.
shit.
Yeah.
Harvey Norman, 4 years, no interest.
Oh, Jerry.
Good on you, Jerry. All right. Thanks, boys. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Matty.
Always love coming down. Always appreciate your hospitality.
Pleasure seeing you, brother.
Oh, you keep doing so well, you won't be invited back.
Yeah, tin ass, Matty.
I thought it wasn't invited back.
No, you got to get a goat.
So press yellow now.
Yeah, hold it.
That wraps up this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, team. If you did have any topics, questions, or you wanted to suggest a guest for Becoming a Bowhunter, you can send me an email at matty@becomingabowhunter.com. If you are enjoying the show or you've enjoyed in particular episodes, please do me a solid and share it around with your friends. If you are not already, please hit the subscribe button, as the more subscribers we get, the higher the podcast gets ranked, and that definitely helps out for showing it to other individuals. If you are not already following me on Instagram, it's at becomingabowhunter.podcast, and on YouTube, it's Becoming a Bowhunter. Get out, team, fling some arrows, get that practice in, and walk those yards in the paddocks until you find those critters. That is it for now, but not the last time that you'll hear from Becoming a Bowhunter.